Welcome back. With us now is Patrick Stegall, Memphis attorney. We're talking about gun laws. Patrick, we've covered a lot of ground here on the regulations and then how you can properly own different sorts of firearms and then some of the regulations that are out there. One thing that's always a big concern is self-defense, and how do those matters get handled?
That's going to be state by state. Each state has its own laws about legal use of deadly force. Tennessee's laws are greatly, I think, in favor of the gun owner or the homeowner. The law in Tennessee essentially is that to use deadly force, you have to have a reasonable belief of an immediate danger of death or serious bodily injury. So that's pretty broad. I mean, it's going to depend on the facts, but if you feel that your life is in danger, you may use deadly force.
Okay. Yeah, and then I guess in those cases, because I think today somebody had lost an appeal where they had appealed after they got charged with something and convicted of it in what they were saying was self-defense. I think it may have been the guy at Panera Bread or whatever that was.
Okay.
How do those cases sort of turn up? And I mean, how is the prosecutor deciding, is this one that we're going to pursue, or this is one that we're not going to pursue?
It's just going to depend on the facts. The police are going to be the first ones to respond to any kind of shooting, so they're going to look and see, okay, what happened here, and if you've got a dead body here, you got a guy with a gun over here saying, I defended myself, you're going to have to figure out, what really happened. If there are any eyewitnesses, of course, you need to look at that. Some people criticize these laws. They call them the stand your ground laws. And we've seen a lot of criticism in the wake of the Trayvon Martin shooting last year because it emboldens people to settle disagreements with a gun. It's up to the police. I mean, they know, they have to have enough proof, and the state prosecutor has to be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And that can be a hard burden. I mean, if there's not enough evidence, there's just not enough evidence. So it's going to depend on each state, and when the police get there, they're going to have to canvass, find as much evidence. It's just going to depend on each case, each set of facts.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I've always wondered about is okay, you've got a lot of people with carry permits, and here in Memphis, we're right here on the border of two other states. How does that work when you're crossing the border into another state? Is your permit still good, or what do you got to do?
You have to look, but generally reciprocity is becoming more common, and a Tennessee permit is good in, I'm not sure how many states, but a lot. Any place, any border state, it's going to be good. But I would, if you're traveling, I would read up on the rules or consult a lawyer. Call me if you want. But most states are going to honor a Tennessee permit, and that's true. It's with more people getting carry permits, states are realizing we have to open our borders to these things. So you're seeing more of that.
Yeah, and it was always interesting when I worked for the Park Service. One of my duty stations was in Arizona, which Arizona is a state in which you could just have one strapped on your hip and walk around for all the world to feel, to quote from Poncho and Lefty there. But the whole thing there is what people didn't understand was they were coming into federal land, which we had exclusive jurisdiction on it. And at the time I was working, it was that your gun needed to be broken down and stored. I think that's now changed with hunting rifles and some other things, but it is really interesting to know kind of where you're going and what those regulations are, so you don't wind up in sort of that airport situation.
You have to be careful. Just because the state allows your permit doesn't mean you can take it anywhere. There are always exceptions. Here in Tennessee, of course, there are many exceptions to where you can have a gun, even with a permit. Schools, of course, courts, government buildings, certain parks. So there are always exceptions, and you need to be aware of those.
Yeah, and it's just a very complex area, and it's one of those that I think it's important that if you're trying to legally possess and use weapons, that you know what the regulations are out there, and you talk with somebody so you know you're planning before to keep yourself out of any of this sort of strict liability situations.
Absolutely. You have to be responsible. You have to know the laws. It's a great responsibility to carry a weapon.
Mm-hmm. And that's it for our time today. So our time is up for this edition of Legalese. I would like to thank our guest for taking time out of his busy schedule and being with us and sharing his thoughts and insights. If you would like any more information about Legalese or any other program on GHS TV, please refer to our website at www.ghstv.org. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us next month for more discussion on legal topics. Until then, I'm Vincent Perryman. Thank you for watching.